All right, welcome, welcome, welcome. Everything appears to be up and running. I have my soda to start off the stream. Oh, sugar-free, 0 calories, because when you're sitting for hours and coding, why do you need the calories? You just don't. So, not a lot has really happened this week. I've been really busy with other things. The day job and kind of tending to some administrative tasks and things of that nature. Where we left off last time, and thank you for joining us again. Where we left off last time was I was working on a screen for business and people. And for those who don't know, this is a dev stream for Kalling Kingdom, a fantasy turn-based city simulator that I'm building out. And I did recently announce on Twitter that I am shooting for July, a release date of July. But let's take a look at elegacorp.com first. I like to do this at the beginning of every stream. And, we're going to get into the game development, but first I like to basically point out that the t-shirts are for sale. The Elega Corp merch is for sale. Your purchase does support the development of this project as well as other projects that we work on. So Elega Corp also does Pluralsight course production. We do online education. We help out a lot of people with their careers to teach them Salesforce. And then there's the recent blog post down there on the bottom left. And the latest one I just threw up yesterday. It's called Ditch Your Starving Artist Lifestyle, Be a Sellout. And before you judge me for the headline, I recommend that you read it because it's a good time. And on the right, on the bottom right, is the Twitch live stream schedule. There's only a few dates up there right now. We're looking a little bare on those dates, but I do want to get more things up and rolling shortly. I need to kind of examine what the live stream schedule will be because I'm not sure I want to keep doing this whole Sunday morning thing, although I kind of like the idea of calling it Elega Sundays. But still, I'm not sure if I want to keep going with this schedule. And one more thing I'll mention is here on the right side of the screen, you should see it's right above me. Yes, there it is. You can use promo code CALLKING to get 15% off the Elega Corp merch. All that being said, let me get into the development because that's what you're all here to see. So where are we? We are quite a bit further than we were from the very first stream, right? So let me bring this up. This is the business and people panel. And you can see there's a tiny bit of artwork going on there in the background. It may or it may not change. Especially like the clouds. Like you can just barely see that there's a little cloud there in the background. Right to the left of business. And I don't really know how I feel about that. But those clouds will move very steadily in the background, and when you combine it with the music, it has a very nice effect. In fact, let me show you that now. One of the things about this game is it's supposed to be kind of a relaxing game. I'm going to turn down the audio on my end. It's a little loud for me. It's probably nice and quiet for you. And I want this to be kind of a thinking person's game, something where someone can kick back and make decisions at their own pace. And I love real-time strategy games, but one of the things about real-time strategy games that has always kind of bugged me is that you always are under this constant pressure. And of course, most games are like that. In fact, I would say most popular games are like that. You constantly feel like you're under an immense real-time pressure, right? So you can just barely see the clouds moving there in the background. There's one coming in on the right, and it's a very cartoony looking cloud. It is basically my programmer art. It's the kind of thing you would just scribble onto a notepad in grade school. But anyway, so yeah, so I want this to be very relaxing. I want it to be something that you don't feel pressured about. In fact, if you have the ability to save the game and then come back later, I want people to feel comfortable with every once in a while kind of checking in on their save game, advancing some number of turns or making a few decisions, and then being able to save and sign right back out. So I like giving them that flexibility. And then, alternatively, on the flip side of that, you have a lot of capability with the entire thing to really, if you wanted to, you could make it a kind of a grueling pace kind of game. But the player would enforce that on themselves. That would not be imposed upon the player. And so I really like it that way. So what are we doing today? So this people and business panel is basically, I'm not going to say it's done. It's not done. These buttons have got to change, but it's done for right now. We're going to circle back to it. And I'm going to go back to kind of working with this little prototype graphic. And so if I go in here and I hit X on the keyboard, I have this little prototype graphic that I had made. I've said it before, but it looks very much like a little Monopoly house, except kind of a wooden color. And then what I can do is it follows the cursor wherever I go. And this is kind of the very beginning of how we're going to start placing down things into the town. And right now this is just a solid blue screen, of course, but because we are so early on, what's basically going to happen is you're going to have a totally different looking environment throughout. We'll have artwork across the screen here, and then you'll be able to place buildings down. But one of the tricks to all this is that I want to prohibit people from being able to go way over here to the edge, right, or down here on the bottom. I don't want them to be able to place buildings that are like basically off the screen. I can even take the cursor out if I want, in this particular case because of the Unity editor. So I don't want them to be able to go crazy off the edges here. There needs to be kind of an edge around the frame of the screen that prevents you from building beyond that edge. And then of course on top of that, I need to be able to adjust down the resolution of the graphic that you're working with that represents that building. Then the idea is once you've placed the building down, you ought to be able to go back in later and click on the building, which then within the turn would allow you to open up the business, see which people are working for that business. You would get to see the information about it, the income per turn, the expenses, how much is going to the tax revenue that, as the town manager, you're receiving with the cash up there on the top of the screen, and so on. So this is really getting into building the main UI, because most of the game you're probably going to be looking at this top-down view of the town, and I want the player to be able to manage things that way primarily. And of course we'll have a way to get back into that business and people panel that I've shown for the past couple streams, but first we have to accomplish kind of the build mode. So the way I have it set up is right now I'm continuing on with this little pattern I have of doing key bindings and basically allowing the mode to change based on what key I've selected. Then every frame we are running whatever mode we're in. Now in-game mode is pretty simple at the moment. In fact, there's nothing in it, but there's a difference between nothing and something. And so with the build mode, that's what allows you to kind of drag around the graphic of the house. And so in Unity terms, I've put this into a prefab, and I'm loading that in, and I'm referencing it, and I instantiate that, and then it's just following the mouse location, which is fine, but we have a lot more to do with this. We also have to be able to have the asset itself, it has to be clickable, and then that has to pull up a panel on screen, and so on and so forth. So I have to worry about how do I allow the player to just place this down. Okay. So to accomplish that, I think I'm going to start by cranking out a bool. Okay, so yeah, let me see if I can do that. So I'm going to say if, I'm going to say bool building placed, and it gets initialized as false. And actually, we can't do it in here. We can't do it inside this method scope. I'm going to have to make this kind of global. So I'll go up here. So I kind of have these, I'll say, variables for build mode up here. See a couple of you in chat. How are you? Welcome, welcome. Okay, so I'm going to say public bool building placed. And so this is something that will have to get flipped back and forth between true and false, but it initializes as false because if we haven't placed anything down, then of course we start off that way every time. So I'll say if building placed is false, then we can have the graphic follow the mouse's location. And so this is the code that allows, when I go in and I flip to build mode using the X key on the keyboard right now. Of course, later, yeah, that's not going to work that way. We'll have to select something to build, but that's what allows it to follow the mouse like this. So everywhere this is flying around on screen, hopefully you can see my cursor. I don't know if you can, but that's what allows it to follow the cursor. Okay, so if the building place is false, then we're going to do that. Otherwise, if it is placed, then what we will do is, yeah, actually the brackets probably are necessary. Building place for right now. I'm gonna do a binding to, I think, the mouse key, which I think is like mouse 1 or something. I'm gonna look that up real quick. Actually, it's probably in the, I know where to go. I need to go to input, axes. Yeah, it's get axis. Get axis, oh gosh, yeah, I haven't configured input at all inside of Unity, so mouse 0 though is kind of the, I'll start with that. I'll start there. So I'm going to say, yeah, if input get key down, yeah, get key down, mouse 0. Let me copy that in here. Mouse 0, then building placed will be true. Just for a second, and then we're going to do some things to release it, I think. In fact, I might not even need this Boolean variable here in a minute, but let me just work through this. So if the building place is true, building place true, the current build object at that point current build object will go to null. And then we can probably leave that be, so the current build object goes to null. Current build object is not null. Hopefully the null handling will cooperate here. Current build object, null. That might be all I need. Building place true, building place false. And then I need to change the mode as well. Change mode, and we're gonna go back to in-game. And then I can return, and we can just bail out here, I think. I think that's all I need. Because then otherwise, once you switch into the mode, everything kind of starts over. And so I have this current build object up here, and this is just for the initial sort of test, but as I press on, I'll have a menu where the player is selecting what to build here, because they're going to build one of the business types. Okay, so save scene, save project. Did I save my code? That's important, and then I'll hit play. So if I click, there we go, and it places down. Gosh, that was way too easy. Okay. Oh, but now when I initialize another one, it's not going to follow it. That's not good. Let me try this again. Okay, so that works, and then I can place. Then I hit X to switch back into build mode, but now it's not following the cursor, so that's not good. Something is wrong there. Okay. Okay, well, when I change the mode, it's probably that the building placed boolean is just hanging out there. You know what? Yeah, so I was right. I don't need the boolean. I think it helped me kind of think through this, but I don't need it. So I can take it out. And then I can take it out of the conditional there, and then I can go up to the top to the global variables and remove it. There we go. Save. Because now when I go back down, we're just gonna basically reset everything here, change mode back to in-game and return. So it's a cue to exit the build mode. Yes. I got farms everywhere. At least that's what these graphics represent for right now. We're going to swap out the graphics with the real graphics later, but that's what they represent for right now. By the way, I did start at 10 a.m. CST / 11 a.m. EST. This will be kind of a short stream. I'm only going to go until the top of the hour, and then I'm gonna cut out. I do have to keep this kind of short today because I have some other things I have to get to, but just FYI. But we have a good 40 minutes left, so it'll be fun. Okay, so go back into here. Okay, so let me see. So I think I'm going to need a script for the business as it pertains to the graphic and the interaction it has with the player. So after it gets placed down, I think that behavior really has to get managed within the graphic. Basically a component attached to the graphic, and so I'm going to have to create that. So let me go into assets, code. Part of this you can't see, and I'm sorry for that, but I can't show absolutely everything in the Unity editor, mainly just because of like setup and screen space and all that. Okay, so I'm going to create a script. I think, is there a way I could use my existing script for the business, I wonder? That would be interesting. I'm gonna say no. Technically, I maybe could. Oh, this is a kind of a tough decision. This might take some thought. So what I could do, maybe, because I have all this behavior defined in here, I might be able to have this implement mono behavior. It doesn't right now. Even though it has that using Unity engine statement at the top, it's not really using any of that. So I could have it implement mono behavior, and then I could slap it onto one of these graphic components and have it work that way. Or I can keep this separate, kind of in a separate layer, and then kind of just have the UI behavior managed separately. Gosh, this is a tough call. And then whatever I do here, I would probably want to take everywhere else. Yeah, I'm gonna keep it separate. I think it'll just be easier to manage that way, and we're gonna have it basically wire up to the non-mono behavior object in memory. So I'm gonna call this business graphic C# script, and open it up over here, business graphic. Okay. So we're going to need the game manager in here. We're going to need it to find the game manager. I'm going to say find game manager, because what it will need to do is it will need to manipulate the it'll need to manipulate the slot here, where it will attach the game manager on its own upon initialization, so that it can then say, hey, here's another business that someone owns, right? If they're placing it down, or that the player owns. I'm sorry, that's really what I meant. I'm gonna say business graphic, game objects dot find game manager. I guess that's all I need to do. So this will be a game object dot find game manager, and then we're going to put that in start find game manager. For those of you that are frequently using Unity, you may be wondering why not the entity component system? It's a good question. It's mainly because, frankly, I haven't taken the time to get used to using it. Okay, hit play. And this is just going to be faster for me. My goal is to have this out by July, so. Okay. Why did I hit play on Unity? I didn't need to do that yet. Okay, so game manager. So we're going to find the game manager. And then I need to initialize this business. Initialize business. Game manager. Oh, and I need to say, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to say get component. Hopefully it'll let me do that. That's really how I want to handle this. Get components, game manager. Yeah. Just so that we can jump straight to the component. So up here, I'll just change this. That'll be easier. So get component, game manager. Then game manager, I'm going to need some stuff from here. Create business. And this will need a type. I'm going to call this type to initialize. I think we only need to create it, and then for the rest of it, it's going to be able to reference it later. So I'll say game manager dot create business, and then type to initialize. There we go. Then I need to tie this to a business. So I'll say business. Okay, business. And I'll just say business. Business equals the game manager create business. Now this is representing the business. And on update, as long as it's active, I need, so find game manager, initialize business. Then on the update, it needs to respond to the user interface interactions. And for that, it gets a little more complex, a little more complicated, I guess. So I'm going to say void open panel. So I think for this, I might have like a raycast on the screen space to the object or something. So wherever the cursor position is, have a ray move to the sprite, maybe something like that. Public void open panel, and I'll say flip panel actually, because this will probably have to wire up to some kind of a component. So for right now, I'm going to say public bool panel open. We don't have the panel to open yet, but I'm just going to have a kind of a placeholder in here. If panel open, then panel open equals false, else panel open equals true. And then down here, I'm going to say print panel open. Actually, I'm doing this wrong. I don't need this to be here inside this component. I need it to just send a message to the UI manager, because there's only ever going to be one panel. So I don't need this to be kind of duplicated across these components. So actually, I have another idea for this. I'm going to say that the UI manager is where we want to go. UI manager, and so I'm going to say find managers, and we're going to go find the UI manager as well. Game object.find UI manager, because I've already started managing this logic in the UI manager, so I'm going to have it go there to retrieve it, so I can take out that boolean. Now I can have it respond. So find managers, okay. Initialize business. Later I'm going to have to make it so that this can respond to an existing business, because if you're buying a business from another town, which I want to be a mechanic, then there will be cases where this gets placed down and it doesn't automatically create a business. It may just take an existing one and assign it to the component. So yeah, okay, so initialize business, create business, type to initialize. So the UI manager, there needs to be a call to the UI manager as well. So let me go over there, UI manager. Yeah, so I'm gonna take some of this out. I mean, put some of it in. Okay, so public game object. I'll say business panel. So you're gonna have one business panel that gets made active. And I'm gonna have to create that. And then down here, I'm gonna say display business panel. And we have an old people panel, but this is like an old reference from some stuff that I already kind of threw in the trash. I'm gonna have to go through here and clean that up. Display business panel, so set active is true. Okay, so let's go into Unity. I'm going to need to take that prefab and go to here. And this is a business graphic now. I'm going to say apply to the prefab and take it out. Don't need it now. If I can just click on it, there we go. Save the project. Always save the project. Hit play. And it's gonna crash, but that's okay. Okay, yeah, it's crashed. Okay, so line 34. Yep. Oh wait, what? Object reference not set to an instance. Okay, so that's part of what I want to look at. Let me look at the attributes in the editor. Ugh, it's not finding it. Oh, I see what happened. The managers got moved into the main canvas for some reason, so they're parented. I'm gonna take them out. That's what happened. Okay, that's fine. I'll just remove them all. They need to exist on their own. UI manager, there we go. save and save. Play. X. Oh. So it's still not getting initialized. It's not finding it. I wonder why. UI manager and game manager. Okay, well, I'm going to debug. It's time to debug. Oh, I already know what the problem is looking at this. I have to assign it. It's not assigned. Oh my goodness. Okay. Now it should work. Although the hierarchy was a problem as well. Okay, so there we go. Place it down. Very good. UI manager is assigned, and it's not doing anything yet, but so it works as expected. So now the component is referencing the game manager and the UI manager successfully, which is good. Okay. So, okay. Yeah, so now I can go back to kind of writing this function that calls into the UI manager, and I'll still call it flip panel. I just have to make sure there's something over in UI manager to catch it. Display business panel. I guess we'll use that. No, I don't want to use that. That needs to... Well, I need to pass a business. Let me just do this. I'll say set business panel, and this is going to reference a business. And then now we're going to have components within the panel from the business. And then over in business graphic, I can say set business panel with this business. There we go. Ugh. Set business panel. Okay. So that should work. And I also need this to respond to the UI. So, I can also say if UI manager business panel and I need to find if it's active. Which I guess is active self these days. The local active state of this game object. Yeah, that's what it is. And it's just a bool. Yep. A boolean. Okay. Active self. If it's false, then I can say to display the business panel. And I also need... I also need to know if the player is clicking on the sprite. So for this, I can do a collider, I guess. Let me bring back the prefab. Here's the prefab. Sprite renderer. So like a box collider 2D. Yeah, box collider 2D, I guess. It's fine. And we'll apply that to the prefab. And I think I'm gonna do array to the sprite, but I just want to make sure I do this right. Add a collider. So let me take a look at on mouse down. And since I'm looking at this for so long, I'll go ahead and show you Firefox, basically just to illustrate what it is I'm doing here. Well, over the GUI element or collider, the event is sent to. Okay, so all right, maybe it's that easy. Maybe it's that easy. We're gonna find out. Am I spelling this correctly? Flip panel. Flip panel, on mouse down. Okay. Let's take a look here. On mouse down, flip panel. Oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness, oh my goodness. So Unity should crash whenever I try this, because there's no panel yet. But I want to make sure that it's getting to the panel. Delete the prefab. There we go. Save the project. Play. The variable business panel of UI Manager has not been assigned. Fantastic. Okay, it's getting there though. It gets to the element there. It gets to the variable. Okay, so now I can go into UI Manager, set business panel. You know what? Yeah, I thought about maybe adding some null handling here, but I won't worry about it. It should always have something after a certain point. So I guess now I can create the panel. And how do I want to do this? I might just want to kind of copy some of what I've done with business and people. In fact, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm that kind of game developer. I'm going to copy and paste. So I'm going to call this business panel. And we're going to start gutting it. We're going to start gutting it. We're going to give it, I'll give it a different background and stuff like that, but the template is going to kind of remain here. Okay, so let me change this text. I'm going to say business, I'll say business name, because that's where the business name will go. And that's another feature I haven't gotten to yet, is allowing the player to name the businesses as they get placed down, but I'll get there. Not there yet, but I'll get there. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to take away this stuff on the right. Person header text, I'll take this out. I can take out these objects. Don't need those. And then we can take out the buttons, obviously. Take out the buttons. We're not going to have a match button. Nope. And I will take out, I'll take out next and previous, I think. Yeah, I'm not going to be hanging on to those. I can always recreate it if I don't need it. And for right now, I'll just keep it that way, because then I can go in later and I can clean up the whole look. But for right now, I'll get all of this stuff populating. So the business panel, I'm going to start it at off, right? Business panel's off. So let me save this. So I need to put this onto the UI manager. So this is the business panel. And I'm just curious, as I do that, I don't know if you guys can see that. I guess not. I don't know. Okay, so business panel. There we go. So now it's assigned to the UI manager and I can turn it off. Everything gets preloaded there. So this is definitely going to crash, I think. But let me just see if I can get the panel to load up. It kind of works. So obviously you can see, so if I go back and I do this again, you can see that the graphic, as I take it around here, it still remains once the panel pops up. So I need to set it to inactive. Oh, but this means I need to have a way to flip off everything from visibility. And I'm not sure how I want to do that. I might throw everything onto its own panel, like maybe a transparent panel. I don't know. I'm not sure how I want to do that. Gosh, that's a really good question. I don't know how I want to manage that reference. Well, for right now, maybe I can just say this dot game on, or I'll just say this set. I guess I do have to say this dot game object. Do I have to say that? This game object set active. Yeah, I do. Okay, fine. So let me go back to business graphics. So down here, I'm going to say this dot game object. I don't have to say this. I can just say game object, and it will inherently go there. Set active to false. So now it'll turn it off, but I'm going to need a way to turn it back on. That's okay. That's okay. We'll figure out how to do that. Save scene, save project. Nice. Okay. So it pops up with the panel. Now I need to populate the panel. So let me do that. Go back to UI Manager. And for this, I need my game objects, my text objects. So under Business Panel, this is very similar to how I end up assigning all these things, which is really crazy. I guess I can set that ahead of time. All these things. This is a pretty lazy way to do this, but you know what? It works. And I can make it look nice later, but it can still just be the quick and dirty route under the hood, and it'll work fine. You know, some people overthink stuff like this, I think, and they want to make UI references like in Unity really dynamic and slick and all that, but you know, as a programmer, like sometimes it's just better to just hammer stuff out explicitly like this, in my opinion at least. I mean, in this particular case, I could do some kind of a crazy like UI system where stuff like populates into the panel and like auto aligns itself to different edges and all that sort of thing, but I gotta get this out by July. That's the goal. You know, oops. So I gotta go. I gotta go. There we go. Now we're gonna go assign all of this if we can. I'm going to give all these a BP prefix in the editor so that I can just do all this from the inspector. Okay, UI Manager, I'm going to go assign all these. BP business name, BP for business panel, business type. Business type. Oh, this needs to be text. Business name. Did I not say text? Business name. I don't think I did. Yeah, I guess I didn't. Business owner. Income per turn. Income per turn. Business owner. Number of workers. And maximum number of workers. Now I go into here. I probably could reuse some of this. It may be worth it to go back and do that, but I'll do the ugly version for right now. Actually, I only have 5 minutes left, so I don't know if that's how I want to spend the last 5 minutes. Yeah. For those in chat, if you have any questions, by the way, about like anything you've been watching me do here, feel free to blast them out right now before we jump off. Because it's not too much longer until we're gonna cut out here. Yeah, I'm gonna see if I can manipulate some of this. Maybe say public. Gosh, is there a way to do this without? I don't think there is. Maybe there is. Let's just say populate business info. Business type, income per turn, number of workers, and max number of workers. Max number of workers. So then I can take all this out and I can just say business name, dot text. There we go. Income per turn, number of workers, and max number of workers. Isn't this exciting, watching me rename variables? All right, we'll go ahead and call it there. Once again, do not forget, let me jump back to Firefox here. Stream schedule will be updated soon with some new dates. Here on the Elega Corp website, we have the stream schedule there on the bottom right. 10 a.m. Elega Sundays. I'll keep running with that for a little while, I think, but I am looking at possibly switching up the schedule a bit. Maybe trying to see if there's some better times to kind of grow the audience and things like that. But there you have it. And don't forget, you can use promo code CALLKING, that's KALLKING, to get your 15% off on the Teespring store. By the way, here on the website, you can go to products, and down here there in the drop down there is Teespring, and that will actually take you to the store. And here on the store, you have a variety of different options. Nice little cell phone case, coffee mug, t-shirts, and things like that. And so again, at checkout, just use that Call King promo code for 15% off. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me on this stream. Next time, we will try and go ahead and see if we can get to a point where we're looking at the main top-down UI. And after we knock out that top-down UI where you can place buildings down, we need to work on some kind of a menu so that you can select what kind of a business you would like to build, and kind of manage how that gets deducted from expenses. And following that, we'll work on the mechanic where you're looking to other available people in other towns to bring them over as well. Thanks so much for joining me. I will see you soon. Thanks.